Letting go and letting God guide your life is not a sign of weakness, it is a decision of deep trust. A quiet surrender that says, I may not understand everything, but I believe there is a greater plan at work. And that plan is wiser than my worries, stronger than my fears, and more certain than my doubts. There comes a point in life when you realize that trying to control everything only leads to stress, confusion, and exhaustion. You hold on tightly to outcomes, you try to force doors open, you try to figure everything out on your own. And in doing so, you carry a burden that was never meant for you to carry. Letting go is the moment you release that burden. It is the moment you stop forcing and start trusting. It is the moment you choose peace over pressure and faith over fear. It is not about giving up. It is about giving in to something greater, something that sees the bigger picture. When you cannot, when you allow God to guide your life, you begin to walk with a different kind of confidence. Not because everything is perfect, but because you know you are not walking alone. You trust the process, you trust the timing, and you trust that even in uncertainty, there is purpose unfolding behind the scenes. Release control and trust the greater plan, because one of the hardest things you will ever do in life is admit that you are not in control of everything, and that's not weakness, that's wisdom, that's maturity, that's understanding that your vision is limited. But the plan working behind the scenes is far bigger than what you can see right now. You spend so much energy trying to control outcomes, trying to force things to happen, trying to predict every step, trying to make sure nothing goes wrong, but life doesn't work that way. And the more you try to control everything, the more stressed you become, the more anxious you feel, the more exhausted you get because you are carrying a weight that was never meant to be carried alone. There is a peace that comes when you decide to release control, a peace that doesn't come from having all the answers, but from trusting the one who does, a peace that allows you to breathe easier, walk lighter, think clearer, because you understand that you don't have to figure everything out. Today, you just have to trust the process and take the next step. Releasing control doesn't mean you stop trying. It doesn't mean you stop working. It doesn't mean you sit back and wait for life to happen. It means you do your part and trust that the rest is being handled in ways you may not understand, but are working for your good. There are moments when things don't go the way you planned. When doors close, when opportunities slip away, when prayers seem unanswered, and in those moments your faith is tested because it's easy to trust when everything is going right, but real trust shows up when things don't make sense, when you can't see the full picture, when you are forced to rely on something greater than your own understanding. You've got to understand that just because something is delayed doesn't mean it is denied. Just because something is delayed doesn't mean it is denied. Just because something is not meant for you. Sometimes what feels like a setback is actually a setup. Sometimes what feels like a detour is actually protection guiding you away from something that wasn't meant for you in the first place. When you hold on too tightly, you limit what can flow into your life. But when you release, control, you create space for something greater to enter your life, something better, something more aligned, something that you may not have even imagined. And that's where trust becomes powerful, because you are no longer trying to force your way into something, you are allowing yourself to be guided. There is a difference between forcing and flowing. Forcing comes from fear, from doubt, from the need to control everything. Flowing comes from trust, from faith, from the understanding that everything is unfolding as it should. And when you choose to flow, you move with life instead of against it. You stop resisting and start receiving. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know every step of the journey. You don't have to see the entire path ahead. You just have to trust that the next step will reveal itself when it's time. And that trust gives you freedom. It frees you from the pressure of having everything figured out. There will be moments when doubt tries to creep in, when fear tries to make you question everything, when uncertainty tries to shake your faith. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can either go back to trying to control everything, or you can lean deeper into trust and choose to believe that even in the unknown, there is purpose. Letting go is not about giving up. It's about giving control to something greater than yourself. It's about understanding that you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. It's about trusting that there is a plan already in motion, a plan that is working even when you cannot see it. And when you truly release control, something begins to shift within you. Your mind becomes calmer. Your heart becomes lighter. Your decisions become clearer because you are no longer driven by fear or pressure. You are guided by trust, and that changes everything. You start to move differently. You stop chasing what isn't meant for you. You stop stressing over things you cannot control. You stop trying to force outcomes, and instead you allow things to unfold naturally, with faith that what is meant for you will not pass you by. Trusting the greater plan doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough to trust that what is happening is part of a bigger picture. It means you believe that even the struggles, even the delays, even the unanswered questions are shaping you, preparing you, building you into the person you are meant to become. And when you reach that level of trust, when you can release control and truly let go, you step into a different kind of strength, a strength that is not shaken by circumstances, a strength that remains steady even in uncertainty, because you know that you are not alone and that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. So release control, trust the greater plan, and move forward with faith, because the more you let go, the more you make room for something greater to enter your life, and that is where peace lives. That is where growth happens, and that is where your journey truly begins. When you let go, God takes over, and that is not just a comforting phrase, it is a life-changing truth that reshapes the way you walk through every season. Because for so long you have been holding on tightly, trying to control outcomes, trying to manage every detail, trying to fix everything with your own strength, and in doing so, you have carried burdens that were never meant for your hands. You were never designed to control everything. You were designed to trust. And there is a difference between those two, because control comes from fear, the need to know everything, from the desire to make sure nothing goes wrong. But trust comes from faith, from the understanding that there is a higher power working behind the scenes, guiding your steps, even when you cannot see it. When you let go, you are not giving up. You are giving in to something greater. You are releasing the pressure of trying to figure it all out and allowing a higher plan to unfold in its own time and in its own way. And that kind of surrender takes strength, not weakness, because it is easy to hold on. It is easy to try to control, but it takes courage to release. There comes a point when your hands get tired, your mind gets overwhelmed, your spirit feels heavy, because you have been trying to carry too much, trying to make things happen in your timing, trying to force doors open that were never meant to open yet. And in those moments, you have to ask yourself, how much longer can you carry this alone? Because the truth is, you were never meant to do it alone. You were never meant to figure everything out on your own. You were never meant to rely solely on your own understanding. And when you finally reach that realization, something shifts inside you. You begin to understand that letting go is not losing control. It is trusting that control was never yours to begin with. When you let go, you make space for something greater to take over. You create room for guidance, for direction, for clarity that you could not access while you were holding on too tightly, and suddenly things begin to align in ways you didn't expect. Opportunities begin to show up, doors begin to open, and paths begin to reveal themselves, and it all starts with that simple act of letting go. But understand this, letting go does not mean you stop doing your part. It means you do what you can, and trust that what you cannot do will be handled in ways you may not understand, but are perfectly aligned with your purpose. It means you take this step and trust that the next step will be revealed in due time. There is a peace that comes with surrender, a peace that cannot be found in control. Because control keeps you in a constant state of tension, always trying to manage, always trying to predict, always trying to hold everything together. But when you let go, that tension begins to dissolve, and in its place comes a calm, a quiet assurance that you are being guided. And when you allow that guidance to take over, your life begins to move with more ease, not because challenges disappear, but because your response to them changes. You are no longer operating from a place of fear or anxiety. You are operating from a place of trust, and that changes how you see everything. You begin to understand that delays are not denials that closed. Doors are not rejections, that detours are not setbacks, but rather redirections guiding you towards something better. something more aligned with who you are meant to become. When you let go, you stop forcing outcomes that are not meant for you, and you start allowing what is meant for you to come naturally. You stop chasing what drains you and start attracting what fulfills you. And that shift transforms your entire experience of life. There will be moments when letting go feels difficult, when your mind wants to take back control. When fear tries to convince you that you need to handle everything yourself, and in those moments, you have to remind yourself that what you are holding on to may be exactly what is holding you back. Letting go is an act of faith. It is a declaration that you trust the process, that you trust the timing, that you trust the one guiding your path even when you cannot see the destination. And that level of trust brings a strength that cannot be easily shaken, because when God takes over, your life begins to move in ways that are not dependent on your effort alone, but are supported by something greater, something wiser, something that sees the bigger picture and knows exactly what you need even before you ask. So release your grip, loosen your hold, and allow yourself to trust. Because when you let go, you are not losing control, you are gaining so. Nothing far more powerful, the assurance that you are not walking this path alone, and that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, and that is where peace begins and where true strength is found. Surrender your struggles to divine guidance, because carrying everything on your own is not strength, it is burden. And somewhere along the way, you were taught that strength means handling everything yourself, never asking for help, never letting go, never admitting that the weight is too heavy, but that is not the truth. Real strength is knowing when to release what you cannot control and trust that there is a higher guidance already working on your behalf. You've been fighting battles in your mind, holding on to worries, replaying problems over and over, trying to find solutions through your own thinking and effort, but some struggles are not meant to be solved by human hands alone. Some struggles are meant to be surrendered because they were never yours to carry fully. When you surrender, you are not giving up. You are giving over. You are placing your struggles into the hands of something greater than yourself, something that sees beyond your current situation, something that understands the bigger picture, something that knows the beginning and the end. Even when you are stuck in the middle, there is a peace that comes when you stop trying to control every outcome, a peace that begins to settle in your spirit when you decide to trust instead of stress, when you decide to release instead of resist, when you decide to release instead of believe, instead of doubt. And that peace is not something you can force, it comes from surrender. You've tried holding everything together, fixing every problem, solving every issue, making every decision on your own, and yet some things still feel heavy. Some situations still feel uncertain. Some answers still haven't come. And that is where surrender becomes necessary, because not everything is meant to be figured out by you. There is wisdom in recognizing your limits. There is strength in admitting that you cannot handle everything alone. And there is power in trusting that your struggles are not ignored. They are being guided, shaped, and handled in ways you may not yet understand. When you surrender your struggles, you are not abandoning responsibility. You are aligning yourself with guidance. You are still taking action, still doing your part. But now you are no longer operating from pressure. You are operating from pressure. You are operating from trust. And that changes the entire energy of your life. Struggle feels different when you surrender it to divine guidance. It becomes less about anxiety, and more about faith, less about control, and more about trust, less about fear, and more about patience. Because now you understand that what you are going through is not random, it is purposeful. There are moments in life when everything feels uncertain, when the path ahead is unclear, when the weight of your struggles feels too heavy to carry. And in those moments, surrender is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength, because it requires you to let go of control and trust something greater. And trust is not always easy, especially when you are used to relying on yourself, but trust is built over time. It grows when you see that even in your struggles there is growth. Even in your pain, there is purpose. Even in your uncertainty, there is direction. You may not see the full picture right now, but that does not mean there is no picture. You may not understand what is happening, but that does not mean nothing is happening behind the scenes. Something is being shaped, something is being prepared, something is being aligned for your benefit. When you surrender your struggles, you stop resisting what is and start accepting that everything has its timing, its purpose, its place. And that acceptance brings a level of that cannot be shaken by circumstances. You stop asking why this is happening and start asking what this is teaching you. You stop fighting the process and start flowing with it. You stop trying to rush outcomes and start trusting the timing, and in doing so, you become more grounded, more centered, more aware. Surrendering your struggles to divine guidance also means releasing the need to carry emotional burdens that weigh you down. It means letting go of past hurts, fears, doubts, and trusting that healing is already in motion, even if you cannot see it yet. And when you do that, something powerful begins to happen. Your mind becomes clearer, your heart becomes lighter, your spirit becomes stronger, because you are no longer holding on to everything that once held you back. You begin to move with more confidence, not because everything is perfect, but because you trust that even in imperfection there is guidance. You begin to face challenges with more courage, not because they are easier, but because you are no longer facing them alone. There is a strength that comes from surrender, a strength that is quiet but powerful, a strength that does not need to force outcomes, a strength that understands that some things are beyond human control, and that letting go is the way to move forward. So surrender your struggles, release them fully. Trust the guidance that is greater than your understanding, and allow yourself to walk forward with faith, because when you do, you are no longer carrying everything alone. You are being guided, carried, and strengthened every step of the way. And that is where your true power begins to rise. Trust God's path, even when it's unclear, because clarity is not always immediate, and understanding is not always instant. And if you wait for everything to make perfect sense before you move, you may never take a single step forward, and life does not reward hesitation, it rewards faith, action, and the courage to move when the full picture is still hidden. There will be seasons in your life when nothing seems certain, when doors don't open as quickly as you expect, when answers don't come when you want them, and when the direction ahead feels foggy and uncertain. And in those moments, your natural instinct might be to question everything, to doubt the process, to wonder if you are on the right path at all. But that is exactly where trust becomes powerful, because trust is not needed when everything is clear. Trust is needed when nothing is clear. Trust is what keeps you moving when your vision is limited. Trust is what keeps you grounded when your emotions are unstable. Trust is what allows you to continue walking, even when you cannot see where the road leads. You have to understand that just because the path is unclear does not mean it is wrong. Just because you cannot see the outcome does not mean there is no purpose working behind the scenes. And sometimes the lack of clarity is not a sign of confusion, it is a sign that you are being guided, step by step instead of all at once. Think about it. If you could see the entire journey at once, it might overwhelm you. It might cause fear. It might make you doubt your ability to handle what's ahead. But when the path is revealed gradually, you grow into each step. Become stronger with each challenge, you gain wisdom with each experience. And that is how growth happens. Trusting the path means accepting that you don't have to know everything to move forward. You don't have to see the full plan to take the next step. You don't have to understand every detail to believe that you are being guided in the right direction. There will be moments when things don't go the way you expected, when plans change, when opportunities shift, when what you thought was the right direction turns out to be something else. And in those moments, it can be easy to lose trust, to question everything, to feel like you've been led astray. But sometimes those changes are not setbacks, they are redirections, guiding you away from what was never meant for you towards something better, something more aligned, something that you may not have seen coming, but that ultimately serves your growth. You have to trust that even when the path is unclear, there is still a purpose behind every step you take. There is still meaning in every experience. There is still guidance, even if you cannot see it clearly. Trust requires patience, and patience is not easy because you want answers. You want results, you want certainty, but patience teaches you to wait with faith, to remain steady even in uncertainty, to continue moving without needing immediate validation. When you trust the path, you stop forcing outcomes, you stop rushing decisions, you stop trying to control everything, and instead you allow things to unfold naturally. You move with intention instead of pressure, with faith instead of fear. There is a calm that comes with trusting even when you don't fully understand what is happening, a calm that allows you to sleep at night without overthinking, a calm that allows you to make decisions without panic, a calm that comes from knowing that you are not walking blindly but are being guided even when you cannot see the full direction. And that trust builds your character. It strengthens your mindset. It deepens your resilience because every step you take in uncertainty with faith builds your confidence in something greater than yourself. You begin to realize that the unclear path is not a punishment, it is a process. It is shaping you, preparing you, strengthening you for what lies ahead, and without that process, you would not be ready for what is coming next. So when the path feels uncertain, when the answers are not clear, when the future seems unknown, remember this: you are not lost. You are being guided. You are not stuck. You are being prepared. You are not alone. You are being led. And as long as you keep moving with trust, as long as you keep taking steps with faith, as long as you keep believing even when you cannot see the full picture, you will find that the path begins to reveal itself in the right time, in the right way, and in the right direction. And that is where your journey truly unfolds. Let faith lead where fear cannot go, because fear will always try to hold you back. It will always try to keep you safe. It will always try to convince you that the unknown is dangerous, that the risk is too high, that the step forward is too uncertain. And if you allow fear to lead your life, you will always choose comfort over growth. You will always choose safety over opportunity, and you will stay in the same place while your potential remains untouched. Fear is powerful, but it is not truth. It is a feeling, a reaction, a signal designed to alert you, but not to control you. And the moment you allow fear to take the lead, you begin to shrink your vision, you begin to limit your possibilities, you begin to play small in a world that is calling you to rise. And that is not the life you were meant to live. Faith, on the other hand, does not deny fear, it acknowledges it and moves forward anyway. Faith understands that fear will always be present, but it refuses to be controlled by it. Faith chooses to believe in something greater than the fear, something stronger than the doubt, something more powerful than the uncertainty. And when you let faith lead your life, everything begins to change. There will be moments when you stand at a crossroads where fear is loud, telling you to stop, to turn back, to avoid risk, to stay where it feels safe and comfortable. But faith will be that quiet voice, telling you to move forward, to trust the TED process, to take the step even when you cannot see the outcome. And that is where courage is born. Letting faith lead means stepping into the unknown. Without having all the answers, it means trusting that the path will reveal itself as you walk it. It means believing that even if you fall, you will rise stronger. It means knowing that every step you take, guided by faith, is leading you closer to something meaningful, something purposeful, something that aligns with who you are meant to become. Fear wants to protect you, but it often ends up limiting you. It convinces you to avoid challenges, to stay within your comfort zone, to not take risks. But growth does not happen in comfort. Growth happens in uncertainty. Growth happens when you step into the unknown, when you face challenges, when you choose faith over fear. You've got to understand that fear will always be there. It may whisper, it may shout, it may try to influence your decisions, but it does not have to define your actions, because you have the power to choose. You have the power to decide whether you will listen to fear or whether you will follow faith. When you let faith lead, you begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You begin to move forward. Where others hesitate, you begin to trust the process, even when it doesn't make sense. And that trust becomes your foundation. It becomes the force that keeps you moving. When fear tries to pull you back, faith gives you the courage to take risks, to pursue your dreams, to step into new opportunities, to face challenges head on, because you believe that there is something greater waiting on the other side of that fear, and that belief pushes you beyond your limitations. There will be times when fear feels overwhelming, when doubt tries to take over, when uncertainty makes you question everything. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can either give in to fear, or you can choose faith and trust that you are being guided toward something greater. Letting faith lead does not mean you will never feel afraid. It means you will not allow that fear to stop you. It means you acknowledge it and still move forward. It means you choose to trust, even when your mind is filled with doubt. It means you take action even when your heart is uncertain. And when you begin to live this way, something powerful happens. Your confidence grows, your resilience strengthens, your perspective shifts, because you are no longer limited by fear, you are empowered by faith. You start to move with a sense of purpose, you start to make decisions with clarity, you start to embrace challenges instead of avoiding them, because you understand that every step taken in faith is a step toward growth. Faith allows you to go places fear cannot go. It allows you to take risks fear would never allow it. Allows you to reach heights that fear would keep you from even attempting, and that is where transformation happens. So let faith lead your life. Let it guide your decisions. Let it shape your path. And when fear tries to rise, remind yourself that it does not have control over you. You are in control, and you choose to move forward with faith. Because when faith leads, you are no longer limited by what you see, you are guided by what you believe, and that belief carries you beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond limitations, and into a life that is driven by purpose, strength, and unwavering trust in the path ahead. In the end, the real victory is not in avoiding fear, but in moving forward despite it. When you choose faith over fear, you step into a strength that cannot be shaken by circumstances. You begin to realize that every challenge you faced, every doubt you overcame, and every step you took in uncertainty was shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded. Faith teaches you patience, resilience, and trust in a process that is greater than your understanding. There will always be moments when fear tries to return, when doubt tries to creep in. But you will be different now. You will no longer be controlled by what scares you, because you have learned the power of belief. You have seen what happens when you trust beyond what you can see. You have experienced growth that fear could never give you. So keep walking, keep believing, and keep trusting. Let faith continue to lead your path, even when the road is unclear. Because the life waiting for you on the other side of fear is greater than anything you could have imagined, and it is built step by step through faith, courage, and unwavering trust in the journey ahead.